235th year history of Sharp Street Memorial United Methodist Church began in 1787 when a group of African Americans found it necessary to withdraw from Lovely Lane Methodist Episcopal Church. There they found their dignity compromised in a racially divided church. This also was the time in the 18th century where Maryland had the largest free black population, which called for the creation of the Colored Methodist Society under Jacob Ford. The organization started in the homes of these individuals and ultimately came to Sharp and Pratt Street in 1802, hence the name Sharp Street Church.
When they moved to Sharp and Pratt, the Quakers allowed us to have that building because blacks at that time could not buy property. It was against the law. So it's important that you understand that Quakers were important to us in those days. Our present edifice that we're in now, Sharp Street Memorial United Methodist Church, which is located on Dolphin and Edding, was erected and occupied in 1898. It is often referred to as the Mother Church of African American Methodism. Within our church, you will see angels of all different races to say that we are a church for everyone. When built, the balcony, as you will notice, has no columns to hold the balcony up. This has been in the past and now an architectural feat that has not been duplicated. We were also instrumental in Auburn Cemetery, which is not owned by Sharp Street any longer, but the pastor at that time, Reverend James Beck, was instrumental in procuring the property because back then it was known as the City of the Dead for Black people, to give blacks at that time dignity when they passed away.
Our church instituted training for young people, and all of this training, it also created an institute for seminar students that would ultimately turn into what we know now as the Morgan State University.
Sharp Street has a very rich legacy of African Americans who were members of Sharp Street, as Frederick Douglass, who we know was here singing on the choir. We believe he was a member for 4 years. Lily Mae Carroll Jackson, who is Juanita Mitchell's mother, was a very important civil rights activist. She held the presidency of the NAACP for the Baltimore branch. In those years, the meetings were held in Sharp Street. As you well know, Juanita Jackson Mitchell, who was the first African-American woman to graduate from the University of Maryland, from the School of Law, and she practiced law in the state of Maryland. Her husband, Clarence M. Mitchell, Jr., was also very important to the NAACP. He was the national director of the NAACP. We have had many people come and speak here during those formative years. Dr. King was here at once. Several presidents, President Kennedy was here at one time. We are in the Upton community because of the move in the 1900s when most of the African Americans populated in this area. Our community house, which is right next door to us, was opened in 1921 during the wars. We had African American women come to Baltimore. They needed a place to live. The community house was known then as a dormitory for women and children. They also had classes there to teach those who needed to learn how to read and do math. We also had classes to help them find jobs, sewing and cooking and different things like that.
This same spirit resides with us today in our social outreach. We have food pantries, after-school programs, and we go out and evangelize in what I would call food deserts or neighborhoods that is economically depressed, socially and economically at a disadvantage. And so Sharp Street has been the breadbasket, has been the social agency, and has been the place where folk can find a home and find the love of Jesus Christ.
Across the street, we now have the Archival Center, which was opened in 1987, I believe, to show many artifacts of our history, to bring to light for the present and the future exactly why we're here and what we did, and hopefully continue to build a stronger future for African Americans, for people everywhere, no matter what race. Our pastor, Reverend Warren Savage, and I would like to invite anyone to come to Sharp Street and share in the service on Sundays. And if you're inclined, take a tour of our Archival Center and get more interested in more information about our history.